My name is Clara Barafati and I am a trainee at DG SCIC. I will start my speech now. Ladies and gentlemen, music is an everyday part of our lives. We can hear music in many places, like the gym, at work, and in our homes. Music can make our day better. Music can influence our emotions, our feelings. What a wonderful thing. And yet, many people consider music to be a silly subject at school, something that cannot possibly compare with the more traditional subjects like maths and science. This has led to music being cut in some schools, but this could be considered a grave mistake. We are living in a more modern and unconventional world where, while traditional subjects are still very important, being more creative can stand you in good stead. Firstly, I'd like to set the scene a little bit. In the last few years in the UK, education funding cuts have dominated the headlines. These budget cuts were introduced by the Conservative Party and have not been well received. Schools are under much more strain, teacher numbers are shrinking and student numbers are increasing. But not only is the education system suffering, there is one part in particular which is feeling the most pain: the arts. Any type of creative subject, like art, drama, and music, are very often the first subjects to be thrown out. Emphasis on the more traditional subjects means the arts are often cast aside. This has not been helped by the introduction of the English Baccalaureate a few years ago. This is a system which indicates school performance and is linked to the General Certificate of Education, or GCSEs, which are school qualifications in England. It measures performance by looking at the percentage of students in a school who achieve the top 3 grades in traditional subjects. These subjects are limited to only English, maths, science, history or geography, and a language. Therefore, this encourages students to take up the more traditional subjects and shifts focus from the more creative subjects. According to Duncan McCrill, a senior lecturer in education at the University of Sussex, he says, the EBAC is having a detrimental effect on the uptake of music in state secondary schools. We also have evidence that the EBAC policy has resulted in a negative impact on the wider musical life of schools as well as curriculum provision. So, we can see that funding cuts are having a direct impact on music as a subject in schools. Some people may not feel that this is a major problem, but I do, and let me tell you why. Contrary to what some people believe, music can offer an array of transferable skills. These are skills students learn which can be transferred to other subjects and situations. For example, when learning to play a musical instrument, students have to learn self-discipline. They need to practice on a regular basis and do so without a teacher always being present. This requires discipline and self-motivation. Learning this at a young age at school can give students excellent tools for later on in their work life. Being able to work independently is an asset for any employee. Another example is teamwork. Many schools offer, or used to offer, bands or orchestras. Students who took up this activity would absolutely have to learn to work with others and how to work together towards a common goal. This is an invaluable skill to learn, not just for work, but for life in general. Time management is another competence that can be learned via music. Practicing an instrument has to be done on a regular basis outside of school. Therefore, children have to learn to organise their time to be able to practice. So learning this at school means that this will be ingrained in their system when starting out in the world of work. I could go on and on about the many transferable skills that music gives, but I don't have time for that, so I've just given you a little taster. Cutting music education in school has other effects on children. No music lessons means that the onus is on the parents. If they want their child to study an instrument or to study music theory, they have to pay for it, and it's not cheap. Sadly, this means that music is becoming a subject which is only in reach for wealthier families. It also affects those coming from minority ethnic backgrounds. In fact, according to the Guardian newspaper, in 2012 to 2013, only 10% of music students at university were from Black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds. Music can also be a fantastic tool for dealing with stress. In the UK, mental health has become a massive issue, and in response to this, the government is considering trialling happiness lessons in order to help young children and teenagers to deal with anxiety and suicidal thoughts. They're willing to hand out multi-million-pound contracts, and yet they cannot see that they already have a subject which can be very useful in this area. Now, I'm not suggesting that music should be used in more serious cases. However, studying music and learning to play an instrument can be extremely effective as a stress management tool. Researchers have established that music has a unique link to our emotions. Listening to music, for example, can help our bodies to relax, and more importantly, our minds. It does this by slowing down our heart rate, which in turn lowers blood pressure and the levels of stress hormones in the body. So by cutting music lessons in school, children are deprived of this, and with the government trying to introduce happiness lessons, they're spending time and money on something which perhaps they already have a solution to, or at least partly a solution. Finally, studying music at school can be useful in other subjects in the future, and I would like to use myself as an example. Music has always been a part of my life, and I studied it at university as my undergraduate degree. After studying a master's degree in interpreting and translating, I have found many, many skills which I learned as a musician that I now use as an interpreter. It has been an incredible and fascinating discovery, and has only made me more passionate about music being a staple subject in schools. I would like to point out, and this will serve as my conclusion, that I am not suggesting that music is more important than the traditional subjects like maths. I'm not trying to push music into becoming the #1 school subject. I would just like to raise awareness of the fact that music and other creative subjects are the absolute go-to choices when the government introduces education cuts, and this should not be the case. Music has so much to offer to young people. Abandoning this glorious subject in schools may make the government's purse lighter, but they are depriving children of a wonderful subject. We need to act now, before it's too late. Thank you very much.